Started, so I'm gonna just repeat one more time. We've got the chat function open, so you can say hello or ask questions or make any comments that you would like in that chat function. We also have the Q&A open, so as we're going through the presentation today, if you have any questions for Tony, feel free to go ahead and drop those questions into the Q&A and we'll make sure we get those answered. With that, so today's Business Illumination series is presented by Cjm Financial, and today Trent Murphy is joining us to say a few words on behalf of Cjm.
Welcome on behalf of Cjm Financial. We're really happy to be able to sponsor or do the presenting sponsor for these Business Illumination series. Interesting enough, the very first one we did this year before all this started happening was mitigating recession. And now we have another one. And during that time, the first thing I said was during 2008, 2009, when we did have the recession and some other things that were happening economically, the first thing that we did was pick up on our marketing and sales. And I think a lot of people get really nervous and they don't understand that now is the time to actually start working on those. So I'm really glad Tony's here to talk about marketing and some strategies and other things that he's going to share with us. If you don't know about Cjm Financial, we're a family-owned business, been around for about 27, 28 years, and here in Ankeny, and we buy receivables, which means if you have a product that's been delivered or a service that's been performed, Cjm will buy that invoice for your business, allow you to have the cash flow up front, and we'll act as your credit and your collections department on the back end. So other than that, thank you very much, and thank you to Craig Tools and Kevin for doing this also.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Trent. We appreciate you being our presenting sponsor today and for the webinar series. I'd also like to introduce Craig Tool. Kevin Feeney is with Craig Tool, and they are our speaker sponsor today. So they were able to help us bring in Tony to speak on the topic that we have today. So with that, I'll let Kevin say a few words as well and help introduce our speaker.
Sure. On behalf of Craig Tool, we want to thank the Chamber and Cjm Financial for sponsoring these webinars. They've been very beneficial so far this month. I look to continue them in the future. So with no further ado, I want to introduce Tony Mills. Tony is the marketing director of Karl Companies. He oversees the day-to-day marketing for all their companies, from traditional, social, digital media, to any sponsorships, strategic partnerships, and branding in the community. Tony also works with 10 LMA dealers and their agency partners for Central Iowa Premier Dealers, as well as all of their GM compliance in regards to facilities and advertising, as well as many other projects for Karl himself. Tony has spent over 19 years in the advertising and marketing field, as he has been an entrepreneur and owned a few of his own companies. Tony and his beautiful wife and two kids, sorry. He loves to travel, spend time with family, friends, golf, and ride motorcycles when he's not at work. So, Tony, welcome, and happy Thursday, everyone. Jeez.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Trent, for sponsoring the webinar series. As Kevin said, just to kind of kick things off, for those of you that don't know me, the marketing director at Karl Chevrolet, we oversee the marketing for 4 businesses. We have 2 dealerships, obviously our flagship store here in Ankeny, and we have a newly acquired store within the last 3 years out in Stewart, Iowa. We also have Karl Customs, which is down on Industry Drive, just outside of the Ankeny city limits, which is a top to bottom performance shop, race shop, upholstery shop. We sell hot rods out of that location. And then we own Karl Emergency Vehicles. And that business division, we do upfits on any make or model for city, county, state, federal emergency vehicles. So my team is busy, and just to let you know, I oversee a staff of 8 very talented people here. So we try to do as much as we can internally, and there are reasons for that. General Motors changes our incentives every 30 days, and the boss man, Karl, When we come up with ideas, he likes to be able to execute those quickly. So, our go-to-market strategy and our execution timeline is very tight. So we have to have control of those things. I've spent, as Kevin said, just about 20 years in the advertising and marketing side. I've sold advertising, everything from traditional to digital to social, and now oversee all those things for our businesses. So today what I'm going to do is share my screen here. I'm just going to talk about a few things. Obviously, as Trent said, getting ahead of these things and things that they've done in their own business. We're in some unprecedented times. So, how do you see marketing? How do you view that in your own business or within your organization? We're going to talk a little bit about content and controlling the narrative. Are you in control of everything that's going out in the market, everything that's being said, done with your business, or are you relying on somebody else to do those things? And then we're going to talk about brand and audience, the strength of your brand or the weakness of it, and understanding your audience in a better way. That audience is what's going to keep the door open, especially in times like these. And what are you doing and sharing? A couple of weeks ago, we had a great webinar on a lot of the fundamentals from a marketing side about staying connected, navigating different channels, things that you should be doing to make sure that you have a presence or that you're involved in, from social media to, Google Places, analytics, AdWords, those different things. And then, a short-term and long-term goals from a marketing side. So I'm just going to start off with a quote, right? Given the times that we're in, a man who stops advertising to save money is like a man who stops a clock to save time, from Henry Ford. So right now, what you see from a lot of businesses is marketing is seen as an expense, right? So when the market changes, usually marketing dollars are the first things to go. What can we do without? And, it shouldn't be seen that way, right? So your marketing should really be seen as a standard utility bill. It's a part of your business. You wouldn't own a brick and mortar business and not pay the light bill. You shouldn't own a business in today's world and not have an advertising plan. So I've worked on both sides of the equation. I've sold it and now I'm managing it. But you have to look at where do you want your business to be when the economy changes? And, now with a lot of open inventory, with a lot more eyeballs in certain areas, there are great things that you can be doing on the marketing side. So, the first one is, do you have a budget, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually? Do you sit down and plan that as part of a traditional business expense, right? Just like you're going to pay your mortgage on the building, or you're going to, have employee expenses or healthcare or light bill. Do you have a budget for advertising? We do it here every year. And I have a budget for the store. I have a budget by department. I have a budget by business unit. And then we have some other budgets that are set for sponsorships and partnerships that we do in the community, charity. So, do you have a budget, or are you just winging it every month? And if you have a budget, are you staying the course? And then are you letting the economy or your competition drive what your plan is? So, and when the economy turns down, is the first thing you do is we got to cut everything. So we got to cut all our advertising. We can't do anything. Or are you reacting to your competition? These guys put out a post, so we got to do it. They're on the radio. I heard them on the way in. We got to do radio. Or I saw a Facebook post, so we got to do Facebook. If you don't have a strategy, then you're very reactive and not the results long term that you expect. So short term, yeah, you might have a bunch of coupons that come in the door, or you might have somebody that shows up short term, but it's sustainable long term if you don't have a plan. So those are things that read an article the other day on eMarketer that said 44% of all businesses plan to maintain or increase their spending right now. So what that goes back to is, are you going to be relevant when this is all over? So when people can go back out in the community and they can go back to a new sense of normal, are you going to be there, or are you going to continue to struggle to pick business back? You know, so what I really hope that you do is think about, you know, what's a plan? It should be just like everything else you do in your business. Sit down every year, every quarter, and understand what your plan is. And are you working that plan? Are you looking at the metrics? Are you using tools to help you better understand the results that you're getting, the reach that you have? And if not, again, right now is a perfect time to understand those things. So, you know, educate yourself, go out. There's a lot of free information, Ad Age, eMarketer. There's multiple, you know, Facebook groups, Facebook ad groups, those types of things that are on Facebook. There's a lot of tutorials. You know, you can understand Google Analytics. There's tutorials from Google, the Google keyword tool that was talked about a couple of weeks ago to understand trends. You know, what are people doing when they're sitting at home? What are they searching for? How are they searching? So that, you know, when this thing is all over, you can become a better marketer and really have a better investment in your business versus just saying it's an expense or it's a line item that, you know, hey, business is good, we're going to throw more money at it, or business is bad, we're going to stop. The reactive situations are never good, and they're never good long term for the success of any business. Next, you know, when you think about content, so it's your job to control the narrative. And what I mean is do you control the content and what's going out in the market of business or your organization? Or are you relying on a media rep? Are you relying on an agency? Are you relying on the news media to talk about your business and what it's about? You know, what's your point of differentiation? And can the public and your customer understand, right? You know, you hear a lot of businesses say, well, our customer service is great, but is it, and do your agree? So do your reviews reflect that? Do the customers that walk in your door echo that statement? Or are there competing views? So if there's competing views, obviously what you have and what you feel the message should be is not clearly resonating with your customers. And then when they come into location, if you have a brick and mortar store, do they get the same experience that you talk about? You know, or is, you say our customer service is the best, but then when they get to your organization, their experience is completely different. It's a 180 from what you've told them. So, you know, you have to control those things internally and externally. You know, again, are you working the plan that you have in place and controlling the message that's going out? Or are you reacting to what others do, right? You know, again, you're letting somebody else dictate what you're putting in the market, and you know, somebody's doing an offer, so well, we got to do the same thing. We got to match the same thing. You know, we can do the same thing, right? You know, I hear this all the time. I have people call on me. I get at least 5 to 6 phone calls a day. I get 10 plus emails a day from companies that want our business, want to work with us. You know, and it's the latest, greatest, newest, best. But very, very few of those companies really take the time to sit down and understand what our business is about and who we are. And so, you know, that's part of the reason that we do a lot of this house is we can control the narrative. We can control everything that goes outside of our organization and what's said about what we do. You know, media companies, you know, there's a lot of good ones out there, but there's also a lot that they're very good at solving their own problem. And what I mean by that, and I worked for a large one, that they come to you with a package, a deal, a coupon, an offer, hey, we got this great thing that you should do. Well, they're slinging that thing to 15 or 20 other businesses. So if they don't understand your business in and out, how can they truly sell you a solution that's going to help your business long term? And, if there's two pizza joints a block away from each other and they're selling the same package, you're getting the same thing that the other business is getting. But I would imagine that you feel your business and your product is completely different. So you have to be in that control. And, when those companies come in, the ones that want to really say, hey, here's the research that I've done, but I don't fully understand your business and I want to learn more. And can you tell me, where are you going with your marketing strategy? What do you want to accomplish from a business perspective? Where's your pain points at? What are you struggling with? And let's see if we're a good fit to help you out and achieve those goals, and solve the problems of your business and help you grow your business. And then what do you want the customer to know about your company or about your product? And help you achieve those things. So the more that you can control, you have the ability to tell that story. And I think about that internally and externally here at Karl. So we say a lot of things in all of our marketing, that we're family owned and operated, that we want to be your dealer for life. That's something that there's a difference of how we do business on a daily basis. And, when I came here, I came out of the corporate world and I had a sense of how things were handled. If a customer's upset or if somebody's mad, how those situations get handled. You have a meeting and you talk about it and whatever. Here, if there's a problem, if the phone is always answered. The customer always gets a call back, and we want to understand their side of the story. And, we hit issues head on. We don't let them wait. We don't let somebody post a review and then answer it a month later. We don't let them leave a voicemail and not get back to them for 2 or 3 days, because that person's upset, right? Because all the things we told them, the way their experience was going to be isn't what they experienced. So how can we control that? And how can we say, no, this is, mistakes happen. Mistakes happen in every business. But how you hit those mistakes and how you control what's done after the fact is really how people are going to perceive your business. And I stated this last year when I talked, Karl's here, he's here every day. Every phone call that comes in for him, the receptionists are told not to ask who it is and not to ask what they want. And it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he doesn't want, it doesn't matter. If you want to talk to him, good, bad, or indifferent, he's going to take the call. And so I would question you and challenge all of you, do you do the same thing in your own business? Or is it, oh man, that customer is upset. I'm going to let him cool down and then I'm going to call him back later. Or, hey, I'm really busy right now, I'm not going to call him back. Well, that person has a voice, and that voice can reach so much further today than it ever could. So the longer that person is frustrated or upset or doesn't feel that what you told them the experience was going to be or the product was going to be, if it didn't match, down the road, it's going to hurt. Because you're letting them sit there and fester. And so, now they're posting a review on Google. Now they're posting a review on Facebook. Now they're, blowing up your Facebook page. Now they're, telling the person that they're in the household with or at lunch with about it. So think of all those things and how you have control of every message. And the other thing with that control is what are you doing to grow your earned and owned audience? So there's three types of audiences that you should think about: earned, owned, and paid, right? So what have you earned through press releases, through customer service, through transactional business in your establishment? And are you capturing those customers' information? I'm going to talk about why that's important here in a minute. your owned audience. So your website, your social media channels, what are you doing to grow those platforms? Because as you see right now, the third part of that is paid media. So what are you paying to get, what are you paying and who are you trying to get in front of, whether it's traditional media, digital media, social media with paid advertising. And if you go back to the first point, I mean, if you cut out and you see it as an expense, so you stop advertising, how strong is that earned and owned platform? So if those two things aren't robust, you're going to struggle, right? And you resort to tactics like this, right? If this is going to be successful in helping during this pandemic, we need to gain more likes and followers. Well, that should have been a strategy from day one, because right now it's panic mode, right? So it's panicking to keep the doors open because you don't have anybody to talk to, and you don't understand the metrics of the platforms that you're using. So, you post something on Facebook just because you have 500 followers, not all 500 of those people see that. If you have 1,000 people in your email database, not one friend, to grow those audiences and grow those lines of your business, that earned and owned category, when things like this hit, you still have a voice. So even if you have to trim or cut some advertising, or maybe reduce let me just check the chat here quick. So, those are things that if you do them from day one, they're going to help you right now when things are good. It seems that I'm cutting out pretty bad. Let me give it a second to catch up. So the third part of what I want to talk about, see if I can move a little bit here. Sorry for everybody that is was listening to this. I'm in a conference room. It's the only quiet place in the building right now. Is trying to do this up at myself. Let's try it this way. So the last category that I want to talk about is brand and your audience. So this goes back to everything that I've talked about in the last couple categories. So do you know who your customers? So back to earned and owned audience. Do you know who your customer is? Who's in the market right now for what you're doing, selling or offering, and what does that market look like? Who's walking in your door? What are they spending, and are you analyzing that data, whether it's Google Analytics, whether it's your social analytics, whether it's your customer database? Understanding those things is extremely critical to the success of your business long term. And now is a great time, like I said, to make yourself knowledgeable on how to find all those metrics and how to find that information and become a student of your own business and of your own customers. Or do you just assume, right? Like, you hear this all the time. that everybody's like you. So I watch these shows, or, I listen to these radio stations. And so that's where I'm going to spend my money. Or, I cut coupons, so everybody must cut coupons. Or, I'm on Facebook at 6 o'clock in the morning, so everybody else must be on Facebook at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, don't assume that your customer, the more that you can understand your audience and understand the data that you have, better decisions that you can make. I look at data, and in the car business, we have more data than a lot of industries, because every vehicle you purchase has to be registered, every new vehicle. So it's registered from the dealer that sold it, what make, what model, and it's basically who bought it. Where do you live? And so all that data is public knowledge, because you register your vehicle with the state. So we can understand market share down to the zip code level. And I can look at zip code, make, model specific, who's buying what types of vehicles, what are they doing, what types of neighborhoods do they live in, what's their household value, what's their household income, what's their age, how many kids do they have, and then understand the customers that are buying from our store. And all of that data helps me make better data-driven decisions on where and why, I spend our dollars, and how we make a marketing plan. So, I don't have to worry about the deal of the day, right? And I don't have to buy a package of commercials where 80% of them run overnight. Well, my customer, I know for a fact my customer is not up, right? Or, I don't need certain things to happen at certain parts of the day, because our traditional customer is at work, or they have a career, or they have young kids, and they're at home doing those things. So the more that you understand that audience, and you understand how to find that audience in the data, is only going to help. And then, the last kind of piece of this is your brand. So what is your brand, good or bad? And not what do you think of your brand? What do your customers say about your brand? Back again to what I talked about a little bit earlier, is do the reviews, do the things that people talk about your business online, do those match up with your perception? And what are you doing to strengthen that brand? So you also see a lot of companies right now doing great things in our community. They're helping, our essential workers. They're out helping local charities and organizations. They're donating meals to underprivileged people in our community. And, they're doing a lot of great things that's bringing a lot of great warranted attention to their business. We're doing the same thing. But are you going to follow through with that when this is all over? And that's what you have to think about. So if you're doing those things today, what things and what categories do you want your brand to be associated with? Is it, child hunger? Is it homelessness? Is it, is there a certain disease that, maybe has affected you personally, or somebody in your family that you stand behind? Leukemia, lymphoma, cancer, any of those types of things, breast cancer. And do you stand behind those things all year, or do you only do it for attention, or do you only do it when the money's good? Because, again, you don't have a budget, or you don't have funds set aside for those things to do it on a continual and regular basis. And what things can you match your brand up with that makes sense? The more that you can understand those aspects, I think, from marketing, it's really going to help you long term when this is all over, and you have to go back to a new sense of normal, because people are consuming media, they're consuming information, they're interacting with companies and services in completely different ways. And that right now isn't going to change. So you have to be able to adapt, and the better marketer you can become, the better you can understand the data and the metrics, the platforms, their capabilities, is only going to help you long term. And it's only going to help you grow. And, you can start at a small level. If you start at just on social media, understand it, become a student of the platform, learn as much as you can, get better at that platform, and then move on to the next. You don't have to be all things to all people and have a huge, multifaceted, multimedia approach. You can use smaller platforms and smaller ways to get your message out to the consumers and to the public right now. So with that, those are just some of the things that I really wanted to hit on that I think, hopefully will help some of you, help some of the companies that you own, work for, or work with. Anybody have any questions that I can help answer?
Tony, I did have a private chat that was sent. It looks like, about how to handle internet trolls that put up false reviews on Google.
Jess, can you repeat that quick?
Yes. Okay. Asked, am I still getting an echo?
A little bit.
Let me see. Here. I will. Internet. So they were asking how to handle internet trolls that are putting up false reviews on Google.
So if, unfortunately, unless, on Facebook and Google, you don't have the ability to just hide reviews. The biggest thing you can do is, if you may or may not know it's a troll, you have to respond, and the goal is, one, how you respond and try to take the conversation offline. If the review is harmful or slanderous, or you feel that person, if you have the data, that person's never stepped foot in the store. With us, everything we do is transactional based. We know the person, we know their address. And a lot of times, we can look that information up to say they have or haven't been a customer. You can report those reviews. So you have the ability to report them as fraudulent, ask them to be taken down. But the best thing that you can do is try to handle the conversation, and handle it real, right? Type of legitimate response. Try to do your homework beforehand if you have the ability to, here we'll look it up and say, unfortunately, we don't have any records of you having a transaction with our company. So you want some more insight, and here's a number, we'd love for you to talk to our general manager, and try to resolve this situation. A lot of times, unfortunately, that's the best that you can do. And if there's something that you can prove, you can report that review and ask to have it taken down from those platforms. But the best thing to do is one, don't hide from it, respond, and don't get in an argument online. Try to take it offline and be respectful. And again, if you have the ability to, if you have cameras, if they, hey, I was there on Tuesday, and you have cameras, if you have transaction receipts, if you have customer records, again, that gets back to understanding your data and how to get to it, to where you can honestly and factually dispute it. And people will have more respect for you that way than if you don't respond at all. So if you just said, hey, these are a bunch of people with a bunch of fake reviews, the customer may or may not know that. So that's your side of the story. They've given you their review. How are you going to respond and react to that? That also goes back to how people see your brand. Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen in every business, especially if you have a high volume business where you deal with a lot of customers. So it's how you handle those things and how you adjust those things in the public eye when those are there. What people are gonna think of your brand and how you handle the situation.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. So it looks like we had a couple more questions come in. So we had one come in through the Q&A. How much do you talk about COVID during your advertising right now?
Great question. We're not talking about COVID itself. We're talking about the things that we do and why we care. So if you see anything that's in the community for about the last 7 weeks, 6 weeks, it's been a Karl cares message. And that message is what we're doing to keep our employees, number one, safe, because according to the government, we're labeled as essential. We aren't, a frontline responder or healthcare professional. Those guys, they have a completely, different role, and they're doing great things in our community right now. But, we are open for business. We have to keep business open. And, the biggest thing, not only locally, but nationally, what people want to hear, I read an article the other day, is what brands are doing to keep their employees safe, keep their customers safe, and how are they changing to accommodate those things. So, what are you doing differently? And everybody understands the situation that we're in. You'd have to live under a rock to not know that. But what are you doing differently to keep your customers safe when they patron your business, when they show up on your doorstep, and is that visible? So, I think that's the best thing that you can do right now. We're trying to do that in every form of advertising that we are, and we've used, the platform that Karl cares. We care about our employees, we care about our customers, and we care about our community. So we're trying to do everything to keep those things as safe as possible, and make sure everybody is informed that if they show up here, we're going to try to take every necessary precaution above and beyond the CDC guidelines to make sure that they have a safe experience right now.
All right. And then we had another question come in via the chat. So can you explain with a little more detail the 3 audiences: earned, owned, and paid?
Sure. So that had been where I got cut out a little bit. So, there's 3 audiences to look at: earned, owned, and paid. So earned, those are, you've earned somebody's business. So, you've done something to get them to darken your door. Your involvement in the chamber. So, letting people know, your narrative, what your business does, what you can do in the community, any press releases, anything that you're putting out in the community, charitable, anything that you're out earning, on behalf of your company. Your audience are things that you own: your website, your social media channels, those things that you can gather that information, so people can submit information on your website. They can follow your page. They can comment. So the audience that you own from those platforms, that you have the ability to use down the road, right? If somebody comes in your store or your place of business, are you capturing their data? Are you getting their name, phone number, email address, maybe even their physical address? You own that customer. So if they did business with you, have the right to use that information to market back to them. Are you doing those things? And then paid media is exactly what it sounds like. So what are you paying for in the market to market your business, whether it's direct mail, whether it's traditional media, radio, TV, paper, articles, magazines, digital. What are you doing to go out and pay to buy eyeballs to what you do? If the person who still asked that question, did that answer, again, enough explanation for those 3 audiences?
Yeah, it looks like she said yes, it helps. So awesome. All right, we've got one final question for you, Tony. What's a good way to pull your customers about their opinion of your brand?
Ask them when they're in your store. ask them if you have their email addresses, send them a email. You can do a social poll. And one of the biggest things is read your reviews. I'm sure you guys have all seen the TV shows where they go into a restaurant, they have the Yelp people go into the business, then they rate their experience afterwards, right? And then they share it with the business owner. The people that are patroning your business and darkening your door every day have a perception, and they're going to have a perception when they leave. So ask them, and be thankful of their response, because their perception of your brand and of your business is their reality, whether it's good or whether it's bad. So, if they have a bad experience, if they have, something that doesn't line up, you have to listen to that. And maybe there's things that you can tweak or do, or maybe, there's a disconnect. Maybe there's a disconnect on the narrative that you're putting in the community and the experience the customer has when they show up. So that's where you have to make sure all those things line up. So if you say it, if we have great customer service, our customer service is second to none, you better hope when they show up that that's exactly what they get. Because if not, you're going to hear about it, and you can't say, no, that's just troll, or that's just somebody, they're them, because that's what they had. I mean, that's the experience that they had, and you have to take that to heart. And what aspects of your business can you improve upon, or what narrative can you put out in the community? Control that. So, the biggest thing you can do is just ask them. We have reviews from General Motors. We have a tremendous amount of reviews on Google. They're not all 5 stars. So we look at those reviews and we understand where did we slip, where did the experience, what we said it was, then how do we fix that? So the next time that doesn't happen. If somebody is upset and we fit and they're like, man, I never expected a phone call. I never expected you to fix this. I never expected that. You're my dealer for life. We asked them to go append the review. Hey, would you go out and append it for us? And would you share that experience? Because, again, I'm not going to appease everyone, but that brand, I mean, that's the backbone of your business. And, if you don't listen to the customer, you're missing a huge opportunity.
Well, thanks, Tony, for answering those questions. Thanks for hopping on today and speaking about the topic of controlling your better marketer. I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to do that. I've got a little bit of feedback going on, so I apologize. And then I also just want to say thank you to Cjm Financial. Hold on one second. I'm going to try. All right. Hopefully that helps. Yes, no feedback. Great. So thanks, Tony, again, for taking the time out of your day to help us put on the webinar and give some valuable information to everybody. And then also thank you to Cjm Financial for being our presenting sponsor today, and Craig Toole for being our speaker sponsor. We appreciate you guys being our sponsor for the last 5 weeks on our webinar series. And then with that, I'll give it back to Trent with Cjm to say a couple words before we close things out.
Thanks, Tony. A lot of good information there. So again, I believe that in these times, and anytime there's any type of upset like this in the economy, marketing and those things that you're doing there is what we have to do to move forward. So thank you so much for that information.
Thanks so much, Trent. All right. And then finally, I just want to share that we do have one more event coming up for April that we hope everybody everybody will be able to join us at, and it's our Chamber Coffee on the Couch. It's on Wednesday, April 29th. Adina Blooms will be joining us and sponsoring next week, Chamber Coffee on the Couch. And so we'll be giving away a couple prizes at the end. It's a great networking opportunity while we social distance. So registration is required, but it is free. So you can just hop on to ankeny.org, go to the events calendar, and you can get registered. Hopefully we'll be able to offer some more opportunities in May for some webinars and some education. If you guys are looking for anything, please leave us a note on social media or on our website, or email any of the staff, and we're happy to try to fulfill some of those educational topics that you are looking to learn some more about. With that, we hope that everybody has a great day and a great rest of the week. Enjoy this beautiful weather and have a great day. Thank you for joining us. Bye.